Slacktoberfest! Hello, welcome to the very first episode of Slacking Dead. I want these to come out a little closer to the episodes of Walking Dead's release dates. It's just last night, I had a little video project that popped up, so I wasn't able to watch it live, so this video is a little bit later than these normally will be. But expect these normally, because I'm gonna keep doing this. If you guys keep watching, if nobody watches, I won't do it anymore, because, you know. The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 1. The day will come when you won't be. Whew. What an episode. Let's start this off by saying spoiler alert. Like, huge spoiler alert. Like, these will always be spoiler filled, because this is going to be like The Talking Dead, where I talk about it, like, immediately after, but the thing is, I'm gonna really talk about it. I'm not gonna just say, hey, good job, AMC, oh man, it's so sad these people died. I'm gonna, like, actually review these episodes for you. So, you know, just know that. Know that I'm gonna talk about everything. So, if you haven't seen Season 7, Episode 1 of The Walking Dead, what the hell are you doing on the internet? Get out of here. So, I'm not gonna pussyfoot around. You know, let's talk about, like, the big things that happen. You know, the thing that everyone wants to talk about. The deaths. You know, the deaths. The plural deaths. The multiple deaths that happen this episode. So, I tend to get this, like, hoity-toity, like, comic book reader feel whenever I watch an episode. Like, yes, I know it's going to happen because I've read all of the books. So when Negan did his whole tease thing, and we had to wait like 6 months to find out who he actually killed, the entire time I was like, you know what? I bet it's Abraham. Because in the comic books, he's already dead. The episode where Denise gets the arrow through the head, in the comics that was Abraham. You know, he's walking with Eugene, and he gets... And so I'm like, okay, you know what? But it's Abraham, because they don't want to kill anyone major. But also, they don't want to kill anyone that's, like, small. Abraham's that, like, really nice middle ground of a character to go, you know what? We can kill this guy off, people will be sad, but they won't be too sad. So I thought both politically and emotionally, it just worked to kill Abraham, because it's not too big, but it's still pretty big. They did pussyfoot around a little bit. Not as much as I thought they would. I thought they would spend the entire episode as a flashback, and then get to where we were, and then kill the character at the very end of the episode. But they didn't. It was like, what, 15, 16 minutes before we got to the point of, like, who he actually killed? And when we got there, it was Abraham. And there I was, sitting on my ivory comic book throne, thinking, yes, I knew all along. This wasn't that big of a deal. Everyone's going to be upset, but I'm not. And when I do my video, I'm going to talk about how unupset I am. And then Daryl punched him in the face. And then I remembered, oh yeah, Daryl's not in the comics. He's the wild card. I have no idea what's going to happen with this character. I have no idea what's going to happen next. This is legitimately scary. And when Dwight held the crossbow up to Daryl, I'm like, they're not going to do it. They're not going to kill Daryl. They can't. Something's gonna happen. You know what? I bet Rick's gonna get his hand cut off, because that's also what happens in the comics. I bet that's what's gonna happen. But then he's like, I told you, you try this again, I will shoot that shit down. And then he turns around and kills Glenn. Which, in the comics, that's who he picks. Spoiler alert for the comics, by the way. I'm going to talk about everything Walking Dead. He turns around and he just bats the hell out of Glenn's head. And honest to God, I didn't see this coming, because I was like, you know what? They killed Abraham already. That's the person they killed. That's it. There's the big reveal, haha. And I was legitimately heartbroken. Like, that scene was so amazing. And in issue 100 of the comics, that's where Negan does this eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and he picks Glenn. And it happens almost shot for shot, like it does in the comics, which I loved. Like, even the eye thing. They even did the eye thing. Man, what a scene. What a scene. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan is just the perfect casting. And I'll get to that in a bit. Let me talk about the episode a little bit more. So then after he does his 2 big kills, he takes Rick, and he's like, come on, let's go on an interview. And I don't think we realize how smart Negan really is. This is a very smart and strategic character, because a dumber character would have just killed Rick. Would have just said, this guy doesn't like me, he wants to kill me, which, by the way, that scene where he's up in Rick's face and Rick's like, I'm gonna kill you. Not today. Not tomorrow. But I'm gonna kill you. Woo! What a scene! But Negan realizes that this is a tough character. And if he can break this character down, if he can break this man down and have him work for him, he can benefit so much more keeping him alive. He takes him on like the most screwed up job interview anyone's ever been on. And he drives him out in the RV and he's hitting zombies. He hits a zombie with the RV and he's like, remind you of anybody? Takes Rick's axe and he throws it outside. And he says, go get my axe, Rick. So in this scene, we see how tough Rick is, and we see how equally leveled Negan is. Rick has finally met his match, and it terrifies him. If anything, Negan might be more powerful than Rick. He plans everything out. He's a smart, sadistic character. And when I first met Negan in the comics, I always thought, there's no way. He's not gonna work in the show. It's just, he's not. He's too sadistic. He curses too much, he's too violent, he kills off too many people. There's no way he's gonna work in the show. They're just not gonna bring him over. And when they did, I was like, well, he's gonna be a clean, like, laid back version. He's gonna be a very, like, TV version of Negan. Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. It was the role he was born to play. He's a sadistic leader. And the things he says, the things that come out of this man's mouth, just, like, I'm laughing during these extremely emotional scenes. He goes toe-to-toe with Abraham, who has, like, the best lines. Or, I guess, had the best lines. When he takes out Abraham, and Abraham's last words are so great. Eat my nuts. And then Negan just goes to town on him. And not only does he go to town on his head, but he also shouts, "Did you hear what he said? He said, eat my nuts. Can you believe this guy?" As he's just wrecking him. And then Glenn, when his eye is doing his thing, and he has this emotional thing where he goes, I'll find you, Maggie. I'll find you. And as, like, we have this, like, emotional goodbye with Glenn, Negan just shouts, "Dude, your eyes popped out of your skull!" It's insane. Like, seriously. And then the end of the episode, where Negan looks at Rick and he sees that Rick still really, really wants to kill him. And he's like, boy, you're still giving me that look. And he gives him an ultimatum. He puts a gun up to each one of the members' heads. And then he puts Carl on the ground with a little mark on his arm. And he says, either cut off your boy's arm or everyone dies. He broke Rick. We've seen this man be built up over 6 seasons. Finally, here we are in the 7th season, and it's just a slow breakdown of a character. It's very rare that you see this in a TV show done so well. Because Rick's been on, like, a huge arc. Like, if you look at Rick in each of the seasons, he's a little bit different, but it always makes sense because of the things he's been through. Finally, he's this hardened man that's not taking shit anymore, and he's gonna kill whatever gets in his way. Then he comes toe-to-toe with Negan, and he's broken down over the course of this hour-long episode. And to watch this man break so heavily, it's one of the most emotional scenes in the show. It's truly one of the greatest episodes of the entire series. And Negan is really the shot of adrenaline that this show needed, because it was starting to fall down a little bit. Like, I was getting really bored with the series, to be honest. And I've been a fan of the show and the comics for years. Like, I've been with the show since it first started. It didn't have that spunk anymore. It didn't have that feeling of dread. It felt very political. It felt like you knew every move that they were going to make just because of, like, the popularity of the show. The popularity really affected it. You could feel the producers toying with things. You could just feel all of the hands touching the show, and it didn't feel like this little independent show anymore. It didn't feel like these characters who could die at any moment. It just felt like this corporate show, and it felt gross. But now that Negan's here, I've got faith in this show again. Like, I'm very excited to see what happens next. They're staying with the comics enough to show that they're paying tribute to the comics. Like, they're not going so far off that it's just ridiculous and stupid like season 3, but they're staying just close enough to keep the comic book fans happy and also keep us intrigued. Like, I feel like I can't call everything anymore. Like, that was definitely a thing that was happening. I was like, okay, well, this has to happen. Well, this has to happen. But it wasn't anymore. And this was a perfect episode. Honestly, I don't really have anything bad to say about this episode. And I thought, like doing this Slacking Dead series, it was going to be me bashing the series a whole lot, because if I would have done this series like a year ago, that's what it would have been, was just me yelling about the show and how bad it's gotten. But I'm happy to say that I've got a newfound respect for the show again. I feel excited to watch this show again. I will say the only bad thing about this episode, which is something they really can't help unless they kill him off, but Carl's getting a bit ridiculous. Like it's very apparent that there was a whole year of time that passed between when they were first lined up and now. That boy is getting tall. Puberty is just, it's hitting him pretty hard. I'm pretty sure that the show only takes place over like a course of 3 or 4 years, but there's no way that 4 years did this to this. And like I said, there's not really any way they can help it unless they like kill him off. But it's just something that's getting more and more ridiculous. Like, his hair is getting so long, he looks like a lady. So I am going to give The Day Will Come When You Won't Be a 10 out of 10. Not only was this a great episode, but it gave me faith in the series again. I feel like watching this show again. It was getting very hard, like taking out an hour's time every week to watch this show, and I only because I wanted to keep updated with the show. I feel like I need to see these characters through. You know, this show's been there for me during some very hard times in my life, like when it first started. And I feel like I'd be a douchebag if I didn't finish out this series. Is that weird? Like, I feel connected to some of these characters. Like, I feel like I need to see them get through things okay. Even though they won't, nothing's gonna end alright for any of these people. But I need to see it till the end. Anyway, that was the first episode of Slacking Dead. I hope you enjoyed. Check out some of our other Slacktoberfest videos. Thank you, Disc Replay, for supporting us so much. Like, it helps out a lot. Thank you very much. Go check out Disc Replay if you live in the Quad Cities area. Anyway, as always, watch movies, my friends. Or, I guess I should say, what should I say for these ones? Watch television, my friends.